I think that in order to receive my restricted license, to be honest with you, I think the vetting was actually more strict than getting my cabinet clearance.
In Canada, 0 people have been killed by an AR-15. 0.
People think it looks a lot more military or and therefore more dangerous. It actually is not at all. It's quite humorous to us in the industry because it fires a relatively small cartridge. That's not as powerful as most of the hunting semi-automatics that we sell. But as far as mechanically, it's to us in the industry, it's quite laughable to think that this is more dangerous than another semi-automatic rifle.
First of all, assault rifles. That is not a thing in Canada. There is actually no legal definition for that category in Canada. We're talking about things like the Canadian C7 or C8. They're talking about things like the M16, like they've seen in like Vietnam era movies and anything ever made since then, because kind of that's when those rifles kind of went into service in the U.S. military. But those are all things that have been illegal in Canada since the 70s, so for decades, and they had never ever been involved in a single incident on Canadian soil.
There are so many things that we already have in place that the issue is firearms that are obtained illegally. That's the problem. So any of the major incidents that have happened, when you look at it, these aren't licensed firearms owners and their guns were illegally sourced. So why would we spend $1 billion on this?
Why do you need something like this that has, a 30-round clip? In fact, it's called a magazine, but the movies in Hollywood have called everything a clip since the 80s, so sure, we'll call it a clip for the sake of an argument. In Canada, for most semi-autos, like I mentioned in the previous video, maximum is 5. 5 shots, 5 rounds, that's it. So let's move on. People seem to think that bolt-action rifles have not been affected by this ban. They absolutely 100% have been. 20,000 bolt-action rifles have been automatically banned as part of this prohibition.
High-powered, rapid-fire assault rifles.
What the hell is rapid fire? It's semi-automatic. Just like 90% of all the pistols that are out there, no faster, no slower. It's your ability as a shooter that determines the speed and accuracy of the rounds fired downrange.
Like the AR-15 are meant for one thing.
Ooh, let me guess. A tyrannical government.
One thing.
Protecting your personal property.
One thing.
Ooh, defense from those wishing to do you harm.
That's not something I want in my country.
What? They didn't even tell me what the one thing was.
The vast majority of crime guns in Canada come from other sources other than Canada. The government doesn't actually track the statistic, but it's anywhere from 70 to 95% of all crime guns or guns that are used in crimes in Canada are smuggled in. So that leaves anywhere from 5 to 25% of them being sourced in Canada. And being sourced in Canada could mean anything from it got stolen from a store or it got stolen from a legal firearm owner who had it stored in their safe and their house got broken into. And sports shooting and hunting contributes to $5.9 billion in GDP, as well as on top of that, $2.9 billion in actual labor income. So that's over $9 billion. So during this economic downturn, this depression, this COVID-19 lockdown, we have yet another self-inflicted wound in Canada.